You treat her well. You work hard. You provide. You think that's enough. But comfort is not connection. And a woman doesn't cheat because she's unhappy. She cheats because she's unfulfilled. That's the part most men never see until it's too late. They think loyalty is guaranteed by effort. But effort without emotional depth? That's just routine dressed as love. There are 6 emotional voids that quietly kill her desire, one by one, until all that's left is distance disguised as peace. You can keep believing you're safe. Or you can finally learn what every man should have been taught long ago. This isn't about control. It's about awareness. And awareness. That's what separates the man she leaves from the man she could never walk away from. Before we go further, stop and ask yourself, when was the last time you made her feel wanted? Not needed. Wanted. When was the last time her eyes lit up because of you? Not because of her phone? Those aren't small details. They're early warnings. And if that question stings a little, you're exactly where you need to be. So tell me in the comments, what kills passion first? Routine or indifference? Because what you're about to hear next isn't about her at all. It's about what happens to a woman's loyalty when a man stops making her feel alive. 1. She cheats. When she feels unseen. A woman doesn't drift away because she's bored. She drifts away because, somewhere along the way, she stopped feeling visible. When a woman feels invisible in her own relationship, her loyalty doesn't snap. It slowly erodes. Not in an explosion, but in quiet, polite withdrawal. At first, she'll keep doing what she always does, taking care of the house, supporting your goals, showing up the same way she always has. But something small changes. The light in her eyes. You stop noticing, and she begins to fade, piece by piece, almost politely. You mistake her calm for peace, but it's not calm. It's emotional disappearance. This is what I call the underappreciation trap, the stage when she no longer feels acknowledged for the emotional labor she gives every single day. The small gestures, the listening, the invisible things she thought you noticed. When those go unseen, a woman doesn't explode. She disappears. And when she fades, someone else's attention suddenly feels like oxygen. Men think love alone sustains loyalty. It doesn't. Recognition does. When a woman feels valued, she invests double. When she feels unseen, she starts saving her energy for someone who will see her again. That's how it begins. Not with betrayal, but with the slow starvation of significance. The mistake most men make is assuming silence means stability. They think if she's not complaining, everything's fine. But when a woman stops asking, stops arguing, stops reacting, that's not peace. That's resignation. She's no longer fighting for the relationship. She's rehearsing her exit from it. You don't need to be perfect to keep her loyalty. You just need to stay present. A simple look that says, I still see you. A word that says, I still appreciate you. Those things mean more than any grand gesture months later. Women don't need superheroes. They need acknowledgement. A mirror that reflects back their effort, their worth, their existence. Here's a hard truth. She didn't cheat because someone else was better. She cheated because someone else noticed. And when another person starts noticing her laughter, her thoughts, her soul, the emotional bond she once had with you becomes a ghost of what it used to be. If you ever find yourself in that quiet stage, where she's distant but polite, affectionate but detached, you're not in safety. You're standing at the edge of an emotional cliff. Don't mistake her calm for comfort, because in most cases, that's not peace at all. It's the silence before goodbye. 2. Emotional starvation. The silent killer. A woman rarely leaves when she's lonely. She leaves when she's emotionally disconnected. When the man beside her becomes a stranger she can't reach anymore. That disconnection doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the pauses, the unanswered questions, the moments when her words hit a wall instead of a heart. Here's the truth most men miss. Men and women connect through different doors. Men use physical intimacy as the gateway to emotional closeness. But women? They need emotional closeness before they can open the door to intimacy. When a man skips that step, she doesn't just feel unwanted. She feels unseen on a level deeper than the body. At first, she'll try to talk. She'll reach out with small emotional tests. Do you still think about me? Did you notice I've been off lately? But when those attempts are brushed aside, with logic, or worse, silence, something inside her shuts down. That's the beginning of emotional starvation. When her heart keeps showing up, but nothing is feeding it back. Eventually, she'll find someone who listens. It might start innocently, a coworker, an old friend, someone who simply asks how she's really doing. And in that moment, she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time. Resonance, understanding. It doesn't feel like cheating at first. But make no mistake, that's where every affair begins. Not in the bedroom, in the emotional vacuum left unacknowledged. When a woman feels emotionally nourished, she thrives. When she feels starved, she searches, not for passion, but for validation that she's still worth understanding. Most men don't notice it's happening. They think everything's fine because she's still there physically, but inside she's already miles away. You can't fix emotional starvation with gifts or apologies. You fix it by rebuilding the bridge, by asking about her world, not just her day. Listening to understand, not to defend. To saying, I hear you instead of you're overreacting. Small adjustments, big returns. The moment you start treating her emotions like data instead of noise, the tone of your entire relationship changes. So, when she says, we don't talk like we used to, don't roll your eyes. That's not a complaint. That's an emergency broadcast. Because when a woman stops feeling emotionally safe, she doesn't always leave the relationship. Sometimes she just leaves emotionally. And once she's gone in that way, it's almost impossible to bring her back. She won't tell you she's starving. She'll just start eating somewhere else. Not food, not affection, but emotional attention. And by the time you notice, she'll already be full, from someone else's understanding. 3. Intimacy mismatch. When desire dies quietly. Desire doesn't disappear. It just changes direction. The silence in your bedroom isn't proof that she doesn't want you anymore. It's a symptom. A symptom that emotional connection has stopped fueling physical desire. See, what most men miss is this. For a woman, intimacy isn't mechanical. It's emotional electricity. And when that current stops flowing, so does her willingness to connect. Time changes everything. The rhythm you once shared gets buried under the weight of daily life. The routine, the exhaustion, the unspoken frustrations. You still reach for her, believing touch alone can bridge the distance. But she hesitates. Not because she's rejecting you, but because her emotions haven't caught up to her body. That's not rejection. That's disconnection. Men often crave variety. Women crave emotional buildup. For a man, intimacy begins the moment he decides he wants it. For a woman, it begins hours, sometimes days, before that. Every look, every small gesture, every moment of genuine connection builds the spark. When those sparks vanish, her body may still be there, but her mind is somewhere else. You'll feel the shift. Shorter kisses, distracted eyes, polite affection without warmth. You tell yourself she's stressed, busy, tired. But underneath that, she's emotionally unresponsive. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she no longer feels desired for who she is, only for what she gives. That's when physical closeness turns into emotional isolation. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's simple. A woman's desire doesn't live in her body. It lives in her emotions. When those emotions are alive, she thrives. When they're ignored, her desire goes silent. She doesn't seek excitement elsewhere out of lust. She seeks it to feel something again, to feel seen, chosen, and alive. Rekindling that spark isn't about grand gestures or perfect words. It's about subtle emotional rhythm. The way you look at her, the way you listen when she speaks, the way you remind her she's still your choice, not your routine. Desire doesn't die with time. It dies when men forget that women fall in love through connection first, not contact. A woman doesn't want constant passion. She wants consistent connection. The kind that says, I still choose you, even after all these years. So if the fire has dimmed, don't rush to fix the physical. Reignite the emotional. Because when a woman feels emotionally alive, desire returns naturally. If she's no longer reaching for you, if she's distant where she once was warm, don't assume she's broken. She's just disconnected. The question isn't, does she still love me? The real question is, does she still feel me? When she no longer does, desire doesn't die. It simply shifts, looking for a place where it can breathe again. 4. Neglect and the savior illusion. While you're building your empire, someone else might be building emotional bridges to her. It's not the affair that starts this story. It's the absence. When a woman feels emotionally neglected, she doesn't immediately run into another man's arms. She starts rewriting her story, quietly, painfully. Neglect doesn't always look like cruelty. It often looks like silence. You're busy. You're working. You're exhausted. You tell yourself, I'm doing this for her, for us. But she doesn't feel chosen. She feels forgotten, like a background character in the movie of your life. And no matter how noble your intentions are, emotional absence feels like rejection to a woman. She tells herself it's temporary, that the long hours, the phone always in your hand, the distracted nods will one day pay off. But every time you miss a small opportunity to connect, to ask how she's really doing, to notice her effort, to touch her without agenda, another thread in that bond snaps. Then one day, she stops waiting for you to look up. And that's when it happens. She meets someone who listens, who looks her in the eye, who remembers the little details you forgot. That man doesn't have to be better than you. He just has to be present. And suddenly, he becomes the antidote to everything she's been starving for. That's where the illusion begins. The savior illusion. She starts to believe he understands her soul, when in truth he's just filling the emotional space you left empty. It's seductive, powerful, Nadine, and almost always false. Because what she's really craving isn't another man. It's the emotional version of you that disappeared somewhere between ambition and exhaustion. When a woman feels neglected, she doesn't want more money or comfort. She wants meaning. She wants to feel emotionally included in your world. Otherwise, she starts creating her own, a world that doesn't have you in it. Neglect doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides behind your hard work, your good intentions, your belief that providing is enough. Here's the truth most men don't want to face. Women rarely fall for someone else because of that person. They fall because of how that person makes them feel in comparison to you. When another man listens without judgment, when he remembers what matters to her, when he makes her laugh again. She starts rewriting the emotional map of her loyalty. If she ever says, "You don't understand me anymore," don't argue, don't defend, listen. Because that sentence isn't an accusation, it's a warning. By the time she says those words, it usually means someone else already does. You can build a kingdom, but if you build it alone, she'll find someone who makes her feel at home. And when that happens, the empire means nothing, because she's already found her refuge elsewhere. 5. Revenge. The darkest form of validation. When a woman feels unseen long enough, she doesn't always cry. Sometimes she transforms. At first, her silence is sadness. Then it turns into reflection. But when that pain festers without being healed, it mutates into something darker. Revenge disguised as empowerment. Revenge doesn't always look like shouting or cheating. Sometimes it's subtle. A new outfit, a sudden glow-up, a flirtatious laugh you haven't heard in months. She's not doing it for you anymore. She's doing it to remind herself that she still has power. That's the core of female revenge, reclamation. Not of love, but of worth. When a woman's worth has been neglected, her mind starts searching for ways to feel desired again. Not because she stopped loving you, but because she stopped feeling loved by you. That's when she begins rewriting her narrative. She tells herself, "I don't need him. I can get anyone I want. And sometimes, she proves it, not to hurt you, but to feel alive again. Men misunderstand this moment. They see her actions and think she's become cold, heartless, or lost. But the truth is, she's hurt, deeply, and she's using validation as medicine. Revenge for a woman isn't always about payback. It's about power. The kind she lost when she was begging for your attention and didn't get it. Every ignored message. Every moment she felt invisible. Every time you brushed off her emotions became fuel. Now she's burning that fuel to rebuild herself. And the irony? The more she glows, the more you start noticing what you lost. That's the silent twist of female revenge. It doesn't scream. It shines. When she walks into a room and doesn't look at you anymore, that's not indifference. That's her final form of freedom. Because revenge isn't about destroying you. It's about proving to herself that she never needed your validation to begin with. And by the time you realize it, she's already rewritten her story. 6. The exit strategy. When cheating becomes escape. Cheating isn't always about desire. Sometimes it's about escape. Before a woman cheats, she disconnects, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The betrayal you feel is only the final act of a play that started long before she crossed the line. It begins when she stops talking, stops arguing, stops caring. That silence you thought was peace was actually departure. She was already gone, just waiting for a place to land. And when she finally meets someone who offers what she's been starving for, attention, validation, presence, she convinces herself it's fate, not choice. That's how the cycle completes itself. Because what began as neglect ends as betrayal, not out of malice, but out of exhaustion. When a woman cheats, she's not trying to destroy the relationship. She's trying to escape the version of herself that felt unseen, unwanted, unheard. She's not running to another man. She's running away from her own pain. The tragic part? Most men only wake up once she's gone. Once she's smiling at someone else the way she used to smile at them. Once the love that felt unshakable becomes a distant memory. That's when reality hits. She didn't betray you overnight. She detached slowly, one ignored emotion at a time. And by the time her body betrayed you, her heart already had. The real heartbreak isn't losing her. It's realizing you lost her long before you noticed. The exit strategy isn't about lust. It's about liberation. She's not looking for passion. She's looking for peace. And when she finally finds it in someone else, it's because she gave up trying to find it in you. The cold truth. Every woman has a breaking point. Not the moment she yells "Batanbayan," but the moment she stops explaining. When her silence becomes colder than her words ever were. Understand. That's the sound of her love dying. By the time she walks away, you'll see the signs you ignored and realize she was never complicated. She was just unheard. She didn't need perfection. She needed presence. And once a woman stops needing you to understand her, you've already lost her.